I'm going to talk about, surprise, surprise, feedback again. But I hope to add something extra to it as well, and maybe more bring in the matrix and API analytics to the picture as well. I have to comment from my side, Lucas's presentation as well. We actually have the same pipeline set up and a separate repository for our specs as well. I can definitely vouch for that approach based on our company as well. Yeah, basically, in addition to the intro itself as well, I'll quickly mention a couple of more things as well. That basically 2 years ago, when I started as an API product manager, the whole API topic was new to me. So I have to thank conferences like these, blogs, podcasts, everything that's out there that basically has led me to this position and this moment of being able to do this. So yeah, 2 years ago, I started off in the product management, and actually, well, as the responsibilities and team grew, at some point I led a bigger team as well, also responsible for app partners, but now, just even recently, a couple months ago, I'm now responsible for the whole of Katana and the product teams, not just API, but API still has a soft place in my heart, so I'm happy to chat about it. What I'm going to talk about, so first of all, I'll give some context about what Katana is and why do we have an API and what's it used for. A little bit about analytics architecture, and then metrics, and basically how do we combine that into feature development as well. And eventually wrap it up with what's next as well. So Katana is a business software for manufacturers. Well, or simplified way of saying it is an ERP, manufacturing ERP. So manufacturers use it to keep track of inventory, get real-time updates about what's going on, how much final products they have, raw ingredients that they have, what's going on in their production. So basically, we're a B2B company. And second important part to understand here is that what do we do differently is that we try to build our product like a platform. So a classical ERP system has a module for everything, for HR, for accounting, and so on, and basically you take the modules of the same product and combine it together. Well, we don't think we can be good at everything. We think that we can be good at manufacturing, and well, next up, our idea is that we want to be easily integratable to all those good CRM e-commerce systems that's already there, already in use and out there. So what this means for the API is that the API has it's not the main product of the company, but it has a very, very high strategic importance to the business strategy going into the future as well. So 2 years ago when we started, Katana didn't have a public API, so I was hired, my team was hired, we started just building it from scratch. Well, or taking the internal functionality, internal endpoints, and making them pretty for public use. Over time, we got customers, we've got partners, we got more partners, and basically started developing a partnership program, and up next we want to launch an app marketplace to take that to the next level. And what this means is that basically API powers all of that. So we making sure that it's well built and easily usable is super important for us. And how customers use what kind of customers or what kind of use cases our API has is, well, two main things, like I mentioned. First is customers themselves building integrations for their custom solutions or just automating workflows. And second part is app partners who have their own SaaS product. They want to integrate their product with ours and basically bring value to both of our customers to combine them. Now, next step, to metrics. So how do we do all of that? A very simplified rough overview. I'll walk you through starting from the left. We have the gateway. Gateway is plugged into Datadog, used for logs and monitoring, mostly for used by developers and troubleshooting. Gateway itself is then plugged into Mosif, which is an API analytics platform. And this is where most of the API metrics and analytics and use cases come from. Mosif is then connected to Segment, which is our company's central data platform. And Segment in return is basically connected to 20 or 30 different sources covering website, product, subscriptions, different integrations, HubSpot, Intercom, and so on, so on. So pretty much connecting everything together. And between Mosif and Segment, what is happening is that basically we get the background data about who that customer is, what's their name, email, subscription, package, MRR, stuff like that into Mosif. So when we analyze API usage, we already see who that person is or what's the company that's behind as well. And to the rest of the company, we just send cohorts about basically who's active, what are they doing, and which app are they using. So just an aggregated version of that data. All of that is basically backed up into a data warehouse as well, where we use Power BI for further, more complex data models. And yeah, a rough overview. I'll touch a couple of points here as well, but and I'll talk you through how do we use it. But yeah, just to give you some rough overview of how we have set it up. So going into metrics. Starting from high-level ones, company has some MRR targets. We want to move up market, attract bigger and bigger customers. To do that, we have set some long-term API goals, which is mainly that, well, we want to have more and more of our customer base building integrations, or just using apps and basically third party and partners building integrations as well. And over time, all of that turns into better experience for our customers, meaning increasing the conversion rate. That's the rough direction that we're going to. On a quarterly basis, we have two more specific metrics that we track: number of active integrations for custom use case and third-party use case. Pretty simple, but what's special about it for us is that this active term, so we have defined it to be based on some activity threshold, meaning that we want to exclude customers who are still testing or building something. So it's we'll look at some higher activity in last 2 weeks, or just some low stable activity over a longer period of time. But basically, as we want to know which integrations are happily running in production, let's say. On a weekly basis, we keep track of the same things, but with a little extras. We keep track on a weekly basis. We also take a look at just who made at least one request last week, just weekly active users, plus the same threshold-based active integrations. And what do we check is that basically any changes in those groups, who started using, who stopped using, who went from low activity to big activity, from big to low, all changes basically, who started having more errors or having issues with webhooks. And our goal there is that we actually reach out to them proactively, that hey, we see you have some issues, do you need help? And try to basically provide a better experience there. On a day-to-day basis as well, we have some trackers for more operational stuff, like keeping track of total number of requests, total number of 500s. Our goal is that we shouldn't be having any at all, and we address everything that every time it happens. And there's a couple of things where we just keep track of percentage-wise, what's the percentage of 400s out of all requests. 400s mean that the the issue is on the client side, some validation issue or something else, but it's still a very good indicator for us in case we break something, do a breaking change, add some validations that suddenly accidentally break customers' workflows. So then, like, just keeping a like some level of those is normal, but in case there's a sudden spike, like this is an issue for us. And over time, we track 503s as well. So basically, they're the best indicator for us for performance issues and system like delays. So we want to make sure that the percentage of those is not increasing in time as well. And well, obviously, bugs reported by support as well. So basically, we have the metrics, we have the targets. We have figured out that we need to build something for that, some features. So I'm going to walk you through next how do we approach feature development as well, and what do we use for that. First of all, we leverage Intercom to have a chat bubble available everywhere for our customers, meaning like on the website when they go to landing pages, in-app, in the main like Katana UI, but also in the developer portal, so it's running on top of that. So whenever somebody's browsing in the API specs, they have a chat bubble, they can reach out for questions, raise issues, or even actually schedule a call with us directly there as well, where we can consult with them about their problems. What this allows us to do is that basically whenever there's some improvements, feature requests, we tag the conversation, we tag the customer, we can group those tags, we can prioritize them, count them, which feature requests are more important than the others. A couple examples where we've used it is that, well, initially when we started opening up the functionality step by step, we prioritized the endpoints that customers needed most. Easy use case. Or second, since we've gotten bigger and bigger customers, the number of cases where somebody mentions that the rate limit is a problem has increased recently. So basically, we took it to the roadmap and planning to improve it next quarter. So direct case there as well. Plus, because we tag those customers and the requests, this also gives us capability to go back to those customers and ask for extra details, ask them for interviews, which is something that we do quite often as well. We dig into their pain points, try to get ideas for solutions in those direct calls with like developers and customers. Couple of examples here as well. We learned that for specific workflows, our customers want access to deleted data. We soft delete data, so basically it's still there, but for certain integrations to work fine, we needed to add that to the API as well. Well, we had the question like, how do we do it? Via query parameters or some extra endpoints, or like, how do we do it? Well, we asked our partners. They have experience with many integrations, many other APIs. We asked them what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and well, we just got an easy answer or basically easy requirements of like, hey, this is the best way of doing it. We're like, cool, okay, we'll do it. Our second use case was we're right in the moment of building our first client library. So basically when we were trying to figure out what should it do, what kind of problem should it solve, well, we went to the same customers and partners as well and asked them like, what's the most challenging when building an integration and figuring out. In our case, main learning was it's not about endpoint usage or sending a request, but it's more about handling rate limiting, retry, some policies, pagination, stuff like that. So basically, our main focus then when working on the library was also making sure that these things are handled super well. I mentioned the metrics and API usage data itself as well. We track pretty much everything, headers, query parameters, bodies for responses, and requests themselves as well. So this gives us capabilities of analyzing, let's say, same library use case, for example. You can track requests by user agent header to get information about which applications are used most commonly. But not only most commonly, we were also interested in which applications have most problems, actually, as well, who kind of like misuse or misunderstand certain endpoints most. Or different example was that we wanted to add extend functionality. I call them shortcuts. Basically, when you have one endpoint and one object referring to some other object as well, and basically to get the full picture, you need to make several requests to different endpoints to get the whole picture together. Well, we looked at the data, analyzed the usage of basically like which endpoints in which order are used most frequently. Learned out that like there's some endpoints where like 90% of the cases they're always used in pairs. A good indicator of maybe that that the endpoint wasn't best designed, basically, or there's some inefficiencies there. So in our case, we kind of like fixed it or added this extend functionality so that you can extend the foreign object or extended object directly into the first request as well. Good data and good analytics is super useful also for bugs and incidents. Whenever something is happening, if you have the full picture, you can easily get the full scope of the issue and understand how many customers are impacted. When everything is connected to intercom and other tools as well, you can easily basically target them right away as well, saying like following up with them or helping them to get over the problems. And yeah, basically, like I said, API data or users of API are also like visible and usable for company-wide analytics as well. So that's useful for example, for any like business analysis, conversion rate, MRR, churn analysis, and stuff like that. So we can look at how API users or basically customers who use API and integrations stack against other groups. You can, like I mentioned, we can, having this all integrated, we can easily send, when we launch a new feature or upgrade something in the API, we can target the emails based on their previous API activity, for example. Or, like I mentioned as well, if we see that they've requested something, we can target the same audience that actually requested this particular upgrade to the API. Also, like if information about API users is available for our customer-facing team in Intercom and HubSpot, they can help the customer in other questions as well, because they know what's going on and what do they do. And to wrap it up, what's next in plan? So this is the like rough overview of the developer journey map, not invented by me. You can Google it. Very useful thing. But basically, the gist of it is that there's this learn and build phases. Basically, like the hello world moment and the MVP moment of when an integration is built. So right now we just track these two like spots in the pipeline, but we want to get to the point where we think about it as a funnel. So we track all points of that funnel, meaning that we also want to start measuring or like tracking website and API docs activity, and then also connect it to the API usage itself, and basically start tracking better like time to hello world, time from hello world to active integrations, and all those basically phases, and we'll improve the, let's say, conversion rate through that funnel. But these are the next steps and improvements. So that's it from my side. Thank you for listening. Any questions?
Any questions? Yep.
Thank you for the talk, very insightful. You showed different metrics and different way you grab this data, it's very interesting. But if you have to pick up one, which is the highest value, which one would you go for?
Actually, to give you background, this is the picture today. For most part of this last 2-year journey, we actually did everything on Datadog. The business metrics as well. So you can count how many users are using their activity levels, everything in Datadog, even though it's actually meant for a different use case. So that was the most valuable for us for a long time. Nowadays, today, I would say, yeah, the MOSIF and API Analytics is the most commonly used tool.
More questions?
Hi, thank you for your talk. You mentioned somewhere in the middle that you've added the chat bubble to almost all the pages on the portal, which is surprising to me because from what I know, when I worked, we usually wanted to decrease the number, like the support load, rather than increase. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that? And maybe you have considered or already done, like, do you measure, for example, when someone accesses the chat from some certain pages and putting it as a metric, like for example, from some pages they access more frequently than from others?
Yeah, we haven't checked that, but it's one of those things that we want to get to as well, definitely. About support load, well, first of it, in the beginning it was an experiment, so we wanted to try. Over time, we didn't get that much bigger load in that sense, and that we should draw it down. Like we always considered it as an experiment in the beginning, that we can always take it down if needed to. But so far so good, all fine there. Plus, well, I have Jana from my team as well, who's helping those customers and taking those calls. So she has done an amazing job training all of the basically support teams to be able to handle the basic API questions themselves as well. So it's like distributed to all support. They can help them, and it's actually like surprisingly, didn't have that big of an effect.
Follow up on that, because you're using Intercom for your chat support. I know that they also have this feature where they recommend things when you're asking something. Is that maybe part of the reason why you have less requests, or that's not that valuable? Are you using that feature?
We use it for our main REST. So basically, these articles need to come from. It recommends knowledge base articles, basically support articles. We don't have that much about API there. Okay. So it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't recommend the API docs and different articles in the docs. That would be even better there. But yeah.
So have you? Well, I have never used Intercom, so I just know that they have this feature. Is there a reason why you couldn't do that, or just something you haven't gotten to yet?
Probably it didn't work like that, and Intercom doesn't know about the website itself that it's running on.
So you have to plug in the information in Intercom itself.
Yeah. So basically, this in this case, these articles from the knowledge base that it recommends, it's part of the Intercom. It's a different product of the Intercom that we started using as well. But what the Intercom does cool is that you can still automate these chatbots. If somebody has been on some page for some time and doing some kind of activity, something pops up like, hey, do you need help? Hey. Maybe you want to check here, maybe you want to do that. So basically, we're also sometimes proactive, offering help. In our case, for example, we use it for many of our customers don't have the development resources in-house, so they need a partner. So we have a partner network that we can recommend them to as well, pretty automated way.
Yeah.